Welcome to another episode of OG55. In this video, we are comparing Disneyland to the Magic Kingdom in Florida. We're going to break down the goods, the bads, the uglies. Up next with the Italiano on OG55. Welcome aboard, everybody, to another episode of OG55. I'm joined by the Italiano. Today, we're comparing Disneyland to Walt Disney World's Magic Kingdom. A case-by-case comparison. We're breaking down the good, the bad, and the ugly. Before I do that, though, I'm going to introduce my fantastic brother, my collaborator, my colleague, my fellow Italiano, George, host of the Citrus Corner here show on the channel. Welcome back, brother.
Thanks for having me back. It's always a good time hanging out with you, brother, and talking some Disney, what we love to do most.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. If you let everybody at home know where they can find you on social media, sir.
Absolutely. You can find me on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Disney George. You can find me on Instagram under the Disney Italiano. And of course, you'll find me here on my home base at Orange Grove 55 with Citrus Corner with all that sweet, juicy, but sometimes sticky Disney news and info.
Yes, yes, yes. And I do want to give a shout out to Kaylee, friend of the channel. This was her topic idea. So shout out to Kaylee for this amazing topic. We're going to break it down. So George, I think we'll start off with like the lands, right? Like when we walk into the park, Magic Kingdom and Disneyland, we'll compare each land section by section, kind of break it down that way. I think that's the easiest way to do it.
Yeah.
Let's talk Main Street. Street. Okay, so Magic Kingdom's Main Street compared to Disneyland's Main Street. What do you think?
Well, let's kind of like start with the elephant in the room. Like as soon as you walk in, the big difference is when you look to the left in Disneyland with the fire station. Obviously, you have Walt Disney's apartment, where you could see the window with his the candle lit, the lamp, lit in the window. Where at Magic Kingdom at Walt Disney World, we don't get that, because obviously Disneyland was a place where Walt stayed with his family from time to time. He basically lived in the park. And unfortunately, he passed before Walt Disney World was built, which includes the Magic Kingdom. So they didn't include an apartment because obviously there was no need to. And I think that's I think for us diehard Disney fans, I think we have more appreciation for Walt's apartment than a normie that would just walk in where they just see the fire department and it's like
they have no idea what that is. Most people don't know. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They have no idea. So that you're right. That's a big plus I think Disneyland has over Magic Kingdom. I think overall just the idea that Walt not only built Disneyland but also lived to enjoy it for over a decade. He died in 1966. The park opened in 1955, so a little over a decade where he was enjoying and kind of tinkering with Disneyland. So I think that is a big plus, like you said, for the nerds, for people like us. So yeah, you're right. When you walk in, that firehouse with his lamp is chef's kiss. Just a beautiful tribute to the man. Absolutely.
Absolutely. And then in the very beginning, you have like where they have the flag ceremony. They do that at both Disneyland and Magic Kingdom, which I think is phenomenal. They do it where they they bring down the flag and they do the whole flag ceremony. And both main streets, honestly, I do apologize. There's the hype train.
There it is.
It never fails.
Hold on. You said train, George. You said train. And when you say train.
Oh, no! I must have hit that track switch!
There we go. We got to drop a track switch.
Absolutely.
So continue, my good sir.
But both main streets, for me, still have that turn of the century, old town, Walt wanted, and I love how they still paid homage to that, to where they're basically built like film sets, essentially the buildings, but I do feel like the Main Street at Magic Kingdom is more stretched out because it's a longer walk to the central hub where the partner statue is, and
it's also
Cinderella
bigger.
Castle. Yeah.
like taller because it has to fit the scale of your bigger castle too.
Correct. Yeah, where Disneyland's it's a much shorter walking path through Main Street.
Yeah. Now, do you like that better or worse than like, okay, for example, because Disneyland, when you go into Disneyland Main Street, it does feel like a little bit more small town.
Yeah.
Like Marceline, Missouri, that that it was inspired by. It does feel a little more small town. Magic Kingdoms is a little more grandiose because it has to fit the castle. Do you prefer one or the other, or do you like them both and they're just different?
I actually like them both, but they're different, which I prefer that because it fits the parks well. And I especially love Main Street at night, like with all the lights and the music. You could still get an ice cream, whether you're at Disneyland or Magic Kingdom. Yeah, I think Main Street is just that portal, if you will, like to kind of walk into Disneyland Park or Magic Kingdom, that it kind of just sets the tone for like who Walt was, where he came from, and where he was going. So it's sort of like when you walk down Main Street, it's almost like you're taking that journey that Walt took when he started out basically with nothing, and then you get to that castle in the central hub, and then you kind of go in either direction to where essentially what he accomplished.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. One thing I actually really loved about Disney World's, Magic Kingdom's Main Street is when you walk in, I think it was to the left, the Roy Disney, Walt's brother, and Minnie Mouse.
Yes, sitting on the bench. Yes.
And it's sitting on the bench. I love these statues. I've made no bones about it many times in many videos. These statues that Disney does now, where they're on the ground on the guest level, not on this podium, on this pedestal like the partner statue, but they're on ground level. This Roy and Minnie statue is that. It's on ground level. You can literally sit on the bench with Minnie and Roy. It's awesome. One of my favorite statues. I think that's just a beautiful homage to Roy, who had such a massive part. Obviously, Magic Kingdom was Roy's park in a lot of ways, and beautiful tribute.
And I wanted to ask you about the partner statue because they also have a replica at the Walt Disney Studios in Burbank.
Right.
Where that one is more ground level, where you could take like a picture, like when you're doing like the studio tour and what have you. Do you think if they would have done that at Disneyland and Magic Kingdom, where it's not like up so high, like with a flower bed and what have you, and they would have had it more ground level where Walt and Mickey were eye to eye to guests, do you think that would be less of a shrine, if you will?
Yeah, I personally, just my personal preference, and it's all subjective, but I like the ground level stuff. I understand maybe they have it elevated, so in terms of like the way it's framed into like pictures for the castle behind it and things like that.
Yeah,
I'm sure that played a big part in how they figured that out. I understand that. But I would love to just see more of a grounded Walt and Mickey statue. I wouldn't even mind if they changed the Walt and Mickey statue. Walt was sitting on a bench when he came up with the inspiration for Disneyland. He wanted to come up with a place that the kids and the adults could have fun together. I wouldn't even mind if they went the Roy Disney Minnie Mouse route and changed the partner statue to where Walt is on a bench with Mickey looking out as an homage to that, dream.
Sort of like how they had Walt on the bench. Is it Hong Kong? Was that?
Yes,
okay.
I think. Yeah, it's Hong Kong.
Okay,
isn't it, or is it? It's Hong Kong. Yeah,
I thought it was Hong Kong.
Yeah,
it's one of. Yeah, but the newer statue that just came out where they have Walt actually sitting on a bench, and I love how they don't have him kind of like that studious, prim proper. Like they have him in a position where he's just sitting like a everyday person, just enjoying the park.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And even the new Epcot statue. I know the Epcot statue gets a lot of shit, a lot of nitpicky people out there like really tearing that thing apart. But I still think it's that even the Walt the Walt statue at Epcot is pretty cool. I mean, I think it's a grounded statue just like the other ones. Guest level, he's looking out. I don't know. I think it's a beautiful tribute as well. So Main Street, pretty comparable. Obviously there's differences because of the scale of that castle. That's going to change everything. Now you get to the end of Main Street though, and let's talk about the elephant in the room. Maybe not so much for Disneyland, but for you guys is the castle. Because ours isn't a really big elephant. It's, Yeah. No, but the castles.
Yes.
Where do we stand with this?
Okay, so this is actually a quite interesting topic because I love how big Cinderella Castle is.
Yeah.
Especially it's 189 feet. They make it even look bigger with the about how they do with the scale with the windows and everything. I love that grand feel.
And it feels more like an actual castle where someone could live in there. You know what
Exactly. I love Disneyland's castle just for the sake of it being the OG castle. It was the castle, you know, that it.
Oh, that's my castle? Oh, thanks, George. I appreciate that.
Exactly.
Yes, I got my own castle.
You got
awesome.
your own castle. So that I guess you'd make that decision for them to not like add any decorations onto it, so they don't ruin the tiles.
Yeah, I mean, and we can get into that too a little bit, the overlays.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but you were saying that you like the Disney.
Yeah, so I love the Disneyland Castle, Sleeping Beauty Castle, just for the that it is, you know, Walt's castle. It was the castle that started it all, so to speak. And I do love how they have the Sleeping Beauty walkthrough. I absolutely love that. They don't have that at Magic Kingdom, where if they did like a rendition of Cinderella, I think that would have been really cool. But as far as like the actual look of a castle, I have to actually give it to Magic Kingdom.
Yeah, yeah. I think a lot of my love for Disneyland's castle is rooted in nostalgia, to be completely honest with you.
Yeah.
I think that it's just it was Walt's original castle, and it's, you know, like a part of him, and like, you know, I think that's a big part of why I love it so much. And plus, I was going to that park. I've been going to it since I was a kid. I don't even remember my first time at Disneyland. I've been going since I was that young. So a lot of my love for that castle is wrapped up in that nostalgia. Now, the Florida castle, I would agree with you. It's more impressive. It's more grandiose. It feels more legitimate in terms of like an actual castle where someone could possibly be living in there. I really, really like that. My only issue with the Magic Kingdom castle is I don't think the pink or the rosé color works as well on that castle as the pink and blue on Disneyland's castle. For some reason, I don't know if it's because it is bigger. So when you have pink, it's like a lot of pink. And ours is so small that it's kind of like in smaller doses. That's my only critique. I kind of wish I was talking to you guys last night about it on the live show.
Yeah, I actually agree with you. I actually would more so go with the gray. If they wanted to stick with the darker blue for the like the towers, you know, that's fine. But yeah, I would have stuck more with like the lighter tone of like the gray.
Yeah, I just think it looks better. It kind of gives it a more grounded feel. Disneyland's, I think, because you have less.
I think more so Cinderella Castle has more like brickwork of how it looks, even though it's not built with bricks. But so if you have like,
isn't it fiberglass from what I understand?
Steel and fiberglass. Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
Crazy.
And so having like that off color like of gray, it gives it like that foundation that it was actually built like bricks. So when you add like that touch of pink, it kind of throws off that illusion.
It does. It doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't do it for me. I'm sure eventually they'll paint it back. You know, I don't know when, but I think eventually they will. But I think that pink though does work, and I do know it's a different shade of pink at Disneyland. I think it does work better because there's less wall, and at Disneyland's castle because it's less wall space, and because it's smaller, and so you're not getting like a huge amount of pink coming at you. Yeah, so the castles are very different. I think. Oh man, it's interesting. Yeah, I think I probably though at the end of the day, just because of nostalgia, because my heart is at Disneyland, the castle is the heartbeat of Disneyland. I would probably give Disneyland's the notch above. But again, that's just because my own personal like, you know, nostalgia. You know, I think from like a logistical and like design standpoint, I think Cinderella's castle probably works a little better. It's a little more realistic. It doesn't seem like a toy, you know?
Yeah.
So now we got the castle. Okay, so now let's move over to Tomorrowland. Now this is going to get interesting. This is where Disneyland's going to get absolutely destroyed. Okay, absolutely destroyed. What are your overall thoughts on Disney World's Magic Kingdom's Tomorrowland versus Disneyland?
Okay, so Okay, so the overall, okay, I will say this: the overall aesthetics of Tomorrowland, I do not like. I think
Which one?
both.
Oh,
Like,
both.
I think
Okay.
they both need some serious work. I think Tomorrowland is so outdated. It needs some sprucing up. I wouldn't even say if you wanted to add a couple new attractions here or there, to kind of liven it up. But I think more so, it's just the overall look of the land. It just doesn't fit. It doesn't give that. You want to call it Tomorrowland, but it doesn't have that futuristic feel to it. And
Well,
I personally think that they really should get away from the Tomorrow
theme.
feel and go more for like Discovery.
Well, the thing that they're making, the mistake I think they're making with both Tomorrowlands is that they're taking old Tomorrowlands and they're sort of just repainting and readdressing the old existing buildings, right? So in Disneyland, you have 1960s Tomorrowland repainted a dozen times now, and it becomes almost like a mishmash of various decades of the land, and you can see it. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't work. Same goes for Magic Kingdom. You have, when you walk into Magic Kingdom's Disneyland, now you have kind of like a mid-century Tomorrowland sign that you walk under.
Mm-hmm.
But then you go in and it's a very 90s looking Tomorrowland with the big, metal stuff. So you have like this weird blend of like mid-century, and then you got like the 90s metal and all that. And then you have like, you go further down and then you got like Tron, which is a whole other aesthetic. Yeah. So it's a mix mash of aesthetically. I agree with you. Both of them don't work because both lands don't address the issue. Like they're more band-aiding these things. They're not bulldozing and rebuilding. And that's the problem. They're just, okay, we'll repaint it. And it doesn't work like that.
Yeah. Now, so as far as the aesthetics go, neither one of them gets a point for me. I'm sorry, it's just what it is.
Now, I will say though, maybe Disney World's is like a slight higher though, like aesthetically.
Okay, yeah, okay. So if
in my opinion, if you don't feel that way, it's fine. I'm just saying,
I mean,
just feel it was a little higher.
Yeah, I could say like a dab, like a little dab. Now as far as what the lands have to offer, I still have to give it to Magic Kingdom. I mean, we have Carousel of Progress, we have the People Mover, we have Tron. We even have, believe it or not, it may seem like kind of underrated for adults, but we also have the Monsters Inc. Laugh Floor Comedy Club, which I think is actually hilarious. I mean, especially if you get picked, you get to interact with the monster. It's sort of like a Turtle Talk with Crush, sort of speak. But they have it in this indoor like theater type thing where it involves the characters from Monsters Inc., which I think is actually kind of cool. I actually like that. Where Disneyland has the upper hand is Space Mountain. Disneyland's Space Mountain is way better. It's a much smoother ride. The vehicles are more comfortable. I prefer to have like the side by side seating rather than in front. Again, it's just a much smoother ride. So I give Disneyland's Space Mountain over. And plus, I love the overlays that Disneyland does with Space Mountain, with the Hyperspace Mountain, and they did I've never got to experience it, but they did the Ghost Galaxy. And I thought there was one more they did.
The Star Wars,
that's the Hyperspace.
They did Rockin'. Was it Rocket Mountain or something like years ago with Red Hot Chili Peppers?
Okay, yeah, I think
that was years and years ago.
Yeah, I think so. I love how they give like different renditions. Like they keep it like, hey, if you want to experience a little bit of Space Mountain with Star Wars, or if you want that classic Space Mountain,
And I think that's because of the locals. Like I think because we have the local population, they have to kind of spice it up because the locals go so much,
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Let's see. The entranceway to Disneyland's Tomorrowland with the
Astro Orbiter.
Astro Orbiter. Okay, so you guys still call it Astro Orbiter. Yeah, that I think honestly to have that attraction basically in front of the land before you actually even get there is basically how the Magic Carpets of Aladdin in Adventureland is at Magic Kingdom, which we'll get into that in a little bit because I have my strong opinions on that. but yeah, I think you're right. I think Magic Kingdom's Tomorrowland has just like the slight edge of the aesthetic wise for Tomorrowland. Autopia and the Speedway. I'm sorry, Dave. I know you love them, but I mean, it's time for them to go. And at the end of the day, they're just basic little car rides that back in the time it would seem like, you know what, that's moving on into the future. But I mean, like, we're like so surpassed that.
It just seems so outdated. It feels something that I would find at like a Camp Snoopy or something. And no disrespect to Camp Snoopy, but it just
Right.
I do expect a little more from Disney, you know.
Exactly.
And Autopia is just kind of, again, it's just not there. And it takes up, I wouldn't even care so much if it didn't take up so much land.
It does.
Like, it takes up so much land at Disneyland and Magic Kingdom, and especially at Disneyland when real estate is really hard to come by over there, and you're going to take up that many acres on this outdated attraction. It doesn't make any sense. It really doesn't.
No,
they got to get rid of it.
And then I'm kind of like in the middle. Like, I enjoy Nemo's Submarine Voyage. Like, I'll go on it. But if it goes away, I won't be upset about it. But I do love the Lagoon. The Lagoon, I think, is kind of like I think the best attribute as far as like with Tomorrowland. And then of course Matterhorn, because Matterhorn is kind of sitting in between Tomorrowland and Fantasyland. So that is something I would give like the points to Disneyland over Magic Kingdom.
Yeah, and for me, I think the substance in your Tomorrowland, Magic Kingdom Tomorrowland, is light years, no pun intended, light years beyond Disneyland's. I think. I mean, look, you're right. We have a great Space Mountain, absolutely great Space Mountain, but everything else, I don't know. I mean, I loved Carousel of Progress, amazing attraction. That was great. And it's one of those cool attractions where you can just sit in there and relax and just kind of like hang out, chill. You know, something that, you know, I've said many times, something that like things like Universal doesn't have a lot of that kind of stuff. Like when you go to Universal Hollywood, a lot of it are thrilling, throw you around, jumble you around kind of things. And this is Carousel of Progress is really, when I say Disney has like that variety, I'm looking at things like Carousel of Progress. You know, things where you can sit for a half an hour. I mean, a long amount of time, basically, and enjoy that attraction. So I love that.
And you could have that enjoyment of an attraction, and then after you're done, you feel a little bit rejuvenated. You know, you got a little bit of rest, and then you're rearing ready to go again.
Exactly. People Mover. It was great to be back on that again. I mean, obviously, the People Mover at Magic Kingdom is much different than the one that we had at Disneyland. Even the vehicles are different. But overall, it's the same spirit and energy of the original. And that was really fun to get back on that attraction. So again, the People Mover and Carousel of Progress, those two things alone put Magic Kingdom above Disneyland's Tomorrowland easily. Tron, I didn't get a chance to ride Tron because unfortunately, like the day before, I cracked my head open at the airport. So I was nursing like a head injury and I didn't want to do anything too crazy with that. I got enough problems, you know what I'm saying? I don't want to make it worse. You know what I'm saying? You know, no, but yeah, in all seriousness, I didn't get to go on it. But like people, well, I was going to say people love it. I don't know if people love it, but I think people like it.
I think it's really liked. Yeah.
I think people like it. I think if it's a cool addition. Aesthetically, it's really cool at night. You know, it just adds to the roster of attractions for Magic Kingdom. So that's cool. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So overall, though, yeah, I'm gonna have to give this one to Magic Kingdom. Tomorrowland, I think, is, well, aesthetically they're kind of neck and neck. I think substance wise, there's much more to offer at Magic Kingdom. Absolutely,
definitely.
Let's move on to Fantasyland. Now, with this one, this is a weird one for me. I love Disneyland's Fantasyland because when you walk into Disneyland's Fantasyland, it's a very uniform kind of feel. It's that old, like, what is it, Bavarian, I think it is, village. Very like the Pinocchio kind of style village. And it's very like uniform through the whole thing. And you got the little cobblestones. It's great. They got rid of all of the medieval kind of old school theming we used to have.
Which is what Magic Kingdom has now.
Right. Well, and that's the thing. That's my big issue with the Magic Kingdom Fantasyland is like it couldn't fully commit to anything. So you have the new Fantasyland, which is more like probably akin to what we have at Disneyland. But then you go over there where like Peter Pan and like Small World is, and it's that old school like 1950s Fantasyland.
And the way that they have them kind of set up, and I think that's probably this is my opinion on it. Well, first of all, the design of Magic Kingdom's Fantasyland, it seems like it's like one big building, and they just put signage up to say, hey, this part's Peter Pan's Flight. This part is It's a Small World. And what have you. Where when you go to Disneyland's Fantasyland, when you see the Big Ben clock tower with the building, you know that's Peter Pan's Flight. When you go over to the left side and you see Toad Hall, or not Toad Hall, excuse me, the castle where the Queen's peeking out, you know that's Snow White. Right next to hers is Pinocchio's Daring Journey. Then on the far right, as you pass Peter Pan, that's where Toad Hall is with Mr. Toad's Wild Ride. So I love how everything is connected, where the architecture fits, but you could still individually see each attraction. Where with Magic Kingdom's Fantasyland, it just seems like it's like one big building, and it's like, here's a sign for It's a Small World, here's a sign for Peter Pan's Flight. And at the time when Magic Kingdom was built, Disneyland's Fantasyland still had that medieval kind of look to it. So they kind of played off of that notion of saying, hey, we'll do the medieval thing. But then after Magic Kingdom was built and it became this resort complex for vacationers, it's almost to the fact of, to close Fantasyland on and give it the upgrade that Disneyland got would be detrimental for vacationers, for families. Yeah. And that's the one thing that it's almost like an Achilles heel. It's like you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't.
You fall on one side of the trap or the other, because if you shut it down short term, you're hurting vacationers.
Right.
But if you don't shut it down, then long term though, you're kind of hurting them, because you have more of a subpar end product.
Exactly.
I think it would have served better to, maybe shut some of it down, open it, shut some of it down, do it in phases. Maybe they can still do that. I just think it's a weird hodgepodge. The new stuff is great. I love Mine Train. Mine Train was one of my favorite attractions at Walt Disney World. I thought that was a really fun attraction. I'm not a big coaster junkie. I'm not a coaster enthusiast and nothing like that. So I don't really like a lot of crazy rides, but that one had just enough thrills where I had a really good time with it. It was like a Big Thunder in terms of thrills. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it was long enough and it was fun enough. I love that ride. But a lot of the other stuff there, like Small World, is like a joke compared to the one at Disneyland,
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I think New Fantasyland, where the Voyage of the Little not the Voyage, excuse me, Ariel's Undersea Adventure is, Seven Dwarfs Mine Train, you have the Storybook Treats, what am I missing? Oh, the Be Our Guest restaurant, Belle's Village with her Haas, Gaston's Tavern. That is all perfect. Like they kind of did that well with like that new Fantasyland look.
Absolutely.
My issue is like right beyond where the carousel is, where that whole stretch of building is. You have Mickey's PhilharMagic. You have, I could even say Mickey's PhilharMagic is fine, but it just seems like it's that one building where it's like when you start to go like around the corner again, where Peter Pan's Flight is, and It's a Small World, and it's like it loses it for me. I love Disneyland's Fantasyland of how you start out, you walk through the castle, you kind of have that kind of little town, like sort of like how in Pinocchio and what have you, the architecture. And then I love how you expand out into it, where you have Casey Jr.'s circus train with the Storybook Land canals, and then you have basically an Alice in Wonderland section within itself, where you have the Alice in Wonderland dark ride with the teacups and everything. It just meshes well with Disneyland. So Disneyland's Fantasyland definitely has it over Magic Kingdom.
Oh, absolutely. It definitely. Absolutely. And if they can manage to add either like a Tangled dark ride or even like a mine train coaster or something in Disneyland's Fantasyland, it's crazy. Way better than the one in Magic Kingdom. It's not even funny at that point. Yeah, there's just so much there. And I love like the Storybook Canal boats at Disneyland. That's like, they're small. It's a small little attraction, no pun intended, right? But it's charming and fun, and I don't know, I really love it.
And I absolutely love how the Storybook Land canal boats and Casey Jr. Circus Train intertwine with one another. They're two separate attractions, but they kind of fit in their own space.
Yeah, exactly. We went on the Casey Jr. Railroad with Mindy and Michael Eva, and that was fun. Yeah, it's a great attraction. It really is. A quintessential Disneyland, that attraction. It just feels Disneyland.
And then even with the teacups, I prefer Disneyland's. I mean, I don't go on them as often as I used to, but I mean, I love the openness of it, right? Where and it's adjacent to the Alice in Wonderland dark ride, where Magic Kingdom's teacups, it's in like a pavilion type thing, for which I can understand because that's just me nitpicking, because with Florida, with the rain and everything, that ride would constantly be shut down.
Right.
So they have to kind of have a cover, so they could still, have the ride operating. But that's just my own personal preference.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. All right, let's move a little bit over to we'll do like now Haunted Mansion, is that Liberty Square from what I'm understanding?
Yes, correct.
Okay. Let's move into Liberty Square. I guess we compare that to what, New Orleans Square? I mean, I guess that would be the most comparable.
Yeah, I think so, because they're both, yeah.
Okay, so what are your thoughts on that? If you were to compare New Orleans Square to Liberty Square?
Well, I have to give it to New Orleans Square, because actually New Orleans Square is my favorite land of all of Disneyland Park. And it's just so alive. Like, you have like the bands playing, you feel like you're actually in New Orleans. You have like these little back streets that kind of like move into the land and what have you. You have Cafe Orleans, which I love to eat there regularly, like every time I go. It's, I don't know, it's just, and then the viewpoint that you have is like, when you look out, you see the rivers of America. You see the Tom Sawyer Island, where they also have Fantasmic. You have the ship Columbia and the Mark Twain passing by, and then you can kind of see Big Thunder in the distance. And then you look to the left, you see we're the peak of where Splash Mountain used to be, and then Haunted Mansion is there. And then, of course, Pirates. I mean, Pirates is like the quintessential part of like New Orleans Square. Liberty Square,
it's nice. It really is nice.
Yeah, it's okay. I think the best part of Liberty Square is the Haunted Mansion, and and actually the Sleepy Hollow, because I love their funnel cakes.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You guys have a really good Haunted Mansion. You really do. And it was kind of interesting too, because some of your stuff in your attraction, we have in our queue, right? Like the stuff that shows in our queue is like actually in your attraction.
Right.
If I'm not mistaken.
Yes,
and that was kind of interesting to me. I was like, that's interesting, So I don't know. It was a different take on it. I think though, I would give the edge, honestly, in terms of comparing the Haunted Mansions, I'd have to give the edge to Magic Kingdom, I think. Yeah. I think I enjoyed that one more.
Okay, yeah.
I mean, I think we have the better Hatbox Ghost because of placement, but I think overall the Haunted Mansion there is better. And then Liberty Square is beautiful. It looks great. No complaints there. So then we move a little further down. We go into Frontierland. Now, this is a weird one now, because it's kind of like in flux.
Yeah.
Like, what's going to happen with Frontierland because of Tiana's Bayou Adventure? Will there even be much of Frontierland, in a few years? We don't know. But what are your thoughts comparing the two, if you were comparing Disneyland's to Magic Kingdom's?
Disneyland's when you walk into Frontierland, like as far as like if you're walking from the central hub, I love how it kind of has like that Western, like briny gulch kind of town where you hear like the music playing. It's almost like you kind of like want to see like a tumbleweed passing by and everything. I love how that feel is right there. And then of course you have Big Thunder off in the distance. I personally feel here's my thing with Frontierland. Aesthetically, it's okay, but I have to actually say it's second to the bottom for me. For after like second to the bottom from Tomorrowland, because I feel like there's really like not too much.
I mean, for Disneyland, you're talking about. Right?
No, I think just in general. I think just in general. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's just okay as far as the land goes. Like,
I mean, you're not wrong.
Like the aesthetics of the land are okay. It's pleasing, but I mean, like, there's nothing like really that says, oh, this is like the old frontier type of thing. There's like nothing like really going on. Like, you don't have the Golden Horseshoe anymore. Like, there's like nothing that actually like. I mean, you have it there, but I mean, like, you don't actually have the show.
The show, yeah.
Where I would love to see like more entertainment value.
I think
Frontierland.
Frontierland needs a lot more entertainment, a lot more. I wouldn't mind Frontierland. I know a lot of people were like having a fit over this, but like if they kind of went into a more Spanish direction with it, I'd be fine with that. I think that would be. Yeah. I mean, Disneyland is kind of dipping its toe into that a little bit with like the Dio. Man, I'm gonna massacre this. My white boy is really coming out. Dia los Muertes, I believe it is.
Dias de los Muertos. Dias de los Muertos.
Okay.
Dias de los Muertos. Yeah, but there's my white boy. Put two Italians. Yeah, we do apologize to the Spanish community.
We do apologize. But they've been doing a lot of the like the decor and stuff, right? Very Spanish kind of inspired in Frontierland, and I love that, you know. And they've been doing it for a little while, and even the Rancho del Zorro, the Zorro restaurant, that's very Spanish kind of, you know, vibe in there. I like that. I like that direction of Frontierland. I wish they would kind of lean more into that. I think that's far more interesting than maybe the more traditional kind of take on a Frontierland. So I don't know. I think if they were to do that, I think even like there were rumors that they were going to do that, right? With like
there were some talk like at some point. Like I don't know as far as like moving forward
for Magic Kingdom, I think.
Yeah. Now where Magic Kingdom has a little bit of a one up is that we're still going to have Country Bear Jamboree, even though it's getting an update. We're still going to have that. I can't necessarily say because we're going to have Tiana's Bayou Adventure, because I really don't know if that's really going to be part of Frontierland. I really don't think so. I can't see that. Pecos Bill is probably going to be rethemed. I think that whole back area is going to be, and I agree with Slimer. I think that whole back area with Tiana's Bayou Adventure is going to be like a New Orleans type of area. And then the walking bridge path that's between Big Thunder and Tom Sawyer Island that links back to the front part of Frontierland where Country Bear Jamboree is, that's going to be all Frontierland.
Yeah. Yeah, they're probably going to reconfigure it. You know, I think they will have to. At Disneyland, you don't have to do that because it butts right up against New Orleans Square anyway.
Yeah. So I have to say, as far as like as a land itself, Frontierland for me is second to the bottom from Tomorrowland.
No, I could see that. And there really isn't much in Frontierland. At least out here in California, I think the only attraction we have in Frontierland out here would be Big Thunder, if I'm not mistaken. Because I think, the Columbia and the Mark Twain are technically part of the Rivers of America. So that's, I mean, it adds to the backdrop of Frontierland, but it's not an actual Frontierland attraction.
And then again, when everything's all completed and they do turn that area into a mini New Orleans area, the only thing we're going to have in Frontierland is Big Thunder and Country Bears.
Right. Yeah, there's just not much there. Yeah, I would. You make a good point with that. As much as I love Big Thunder, that's one of my favorite attractions. You know, it's just, but Frontierland as a land, not super strong. Now the last land, Adventureland.
Adventureland.
Yeah, we can't compare Towns because you guys Magic Kingdom doesn't have a Toontown, so we're not
Right.
gonna, you know.
Right.
But like, what do you think about Adventureland? I know you have opinions on this.
Oh, I do. So, okay. When it comes to Magic Kingdom's Adventureland, walking through, and I mentioned it earlier, is the Magic Carpets of Aladdin. That thing was like bad placement. It's a horrible attraction. It's like it's an insult to that film. It is Aladdin is such a great film that they could have done a nice Disney classic dark ride where it feels like you're riding on the magic carpet up in the diamond sky of a whole new world or what have
The Cave
you.
of Wonders.
Or the Cave of Wonders. Yeah, do something. Like you give us another spinner ride with that fucking spitting camel. It's like,
well, it makes no sense in Adventureland. When I think Adventureland, I think a little more organic. Like you have a lot of like things made out of wood, and like
yeah.
you know, it's very adventurous feeling. Where the Aladdin carpet ride is very plasticky looking. It doesn't
Yeah.
fit the aesthetics of
Yeah.
like what you're trying to do with an adventure.
Like they were trying to go like with like an Aladdin's Oasis type of thing, like where. But I mean, but yeah, the actual look of the carpets, it doesn't fit, and honestly, it takes up a lot of room. It gets so bottlenecked in that area, and it's like just you don't even have to replace it with anything. I just say get rid of it. It's a waste of an attraction. It's taking up so much space. I would just like have maybe like put some benches or like some picnic tables there for like a sit down area.
Right.
You know, I mean, I would think, you know, do that more than, you know, more seating. Then with
Like the treehouse. What do you think?
yeah, so now for Disneyland, I definitely am geared towards Disneyland more as far as like what's all involved with the land, such as I do love the Adventureland Treehouse inspired by Walt Disney's Swiss Family Robinson.
Yeah.
I have to say the whole title.
Yeah.
I love what they did with that. It fits the land so well. The land has my all-time favorite ride in Disneyland Park, and that's Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
Then you have the Jungle Cruise, which both lands have.
Yeah.
The only issue that I have with Disneyland's Adventureland is I feel like the pathways are so narrow.
Yeah.
It's like one straight, like from point A to point B.
Yep.
You're basically using it as a walking path rather than enjoying the land itself.
Yeah, that's the one thing I am very upset about with our Adventureland too, because I love that theme. Like I love that whole like Adventureland theme. We stay at when we were at Walt Disney World this past summer, we stayed at the Polynesian, right? Mm-hmm. It's the same kind of vibe, right? It's like I love that, you know,
Yeah.
and I feel so sad that our Adventureland at Disneyland is landlocked, where it's a pathway. You're right, it's a walking path. You don't you can't really expand out, really. You know, you're very limited, and it's such a great theme too. That's what's frustrating about it.
It is.
You know?
It really is. And the actual aesthetics of the land itself are awesome. Like they like with the fire torches, and you have like the
like the outside the tiki room.
Yeah, you have the tiki room, and then it's I know the name of it, but I'm drawing a blank right now. Where you could actually go and get the Dole Whips with the sit down area. Is it the
Tropical Hideaway?
Tropical Hideaway. I knew it was tropical something. I love that area. It's a great seating place where you could just kind of chill, relax, have your Dole Whip. I will give Magic Kingdom's Adventureland. It's more opened. You know, there's more breathing room to walk. Now in Magic Kingdom's Adventureland, we have Pirates of the Caribbean, where Disneyland's is in New Orleans Square. So just to compare the Pirates, Disneyland's knocks Magic Kingdom's out of the water, no pun intended. You actually get the full immersive experience of Pirates of the Caribbean at Disneyland. And Magic Kingdom's is basically a fourth of what you get at Disneyland. There's so many characters that are removed, so many scenes that are removed, and one of my favorite sections of Disneyland's Pirates of the Caribbean is when you go down the I believe it's the second drop, because there's two drops at Disneyland. Magic Kingdom's only has one. So when you go down the second drop, in Disneyland's Pirates, it kind of takes you into this like cavern almost. It's like a where there's like some sand and you can kind of see like a skeleton pirate. And what I absolutely love about that section is they have the music playing where you hear like the yo ho a pirate's life for me, but it's like it's very subtle. It's like the and it's just like the scope of just that section is all worth it for me. Like that to me is the ride, and there's so much more to the ride for it, you know. So it's like Disneyland's Pirates of the Caribbean is so much more better than Walt Disney World's Magic Kingdom's Pirates. For which the reason why is, and Disney kind of did this to themselves, is at the time when Magic Kingdom opened in 1971, there were no initial plans to actually add Pirates of the Caribbean. And when Disney found out that that was like a major big boo-boo for them, they had to scramble and they had to put in a Pirates of the Caribbean on the fly. So they basically had to shoehorn this attraction in there because people were going nuts that there was no Pirates of the Caribbean at Magic Kingdom. So they never really had enough time, nor the creativity. They have the creativity, let me take that back, but they didn't have the time with the creativity to give the full immersive experience that Pirates has at Disneyland, because they just had to get something in there. But me personally, if you're going to half-ass it, I'd rather you not put it in at all and just wait and take your time with it.
Yeah, no, well said. Yeah, the Pirates at Disneyland is just amazing, dude. It's absolutely amazing. It's you can't stop it. There's no comparison with those two attractions. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
There's no comparison. Okay, so now let's move on to, we have one final thing we got to discuss here. Mm-hmm. The railroad.
Oh.
Because that's not really in any land. It's kind of circles the park, right?
Circles the whole park.
What are your thoughts?
Disneyland Railroad, hands down. I mean, you have like a great, it not only does it take you through each land and it tells you like what's in each land, but in between each section, you get like a storyline, especially when you go through like the Cretaceous period of the dinos. And it's like, and it's just, you get this diorama of like these audio animatronics, and you think, oh, I can't believe I'm getting this on a railroad, you know, going around Disneyland Park. Magic Kingdom's railroad is basically just for transportation only, and basically all you see are trees and some backstage area.
Yeah,
that's it. There's really nothing. Maybe some props here or there, but yeah, there's really nothing really to say about Magic Kingdom's railroad. But Disneyland's is quintessential Disney.
I was way more impressed with the railroad over to Animal Kingdom, to be honest.
The Wildlife Express train, yeah, I agree with you.
That one was cool because it was like a cross between the Disneyland Railroad or a railroad and like the Jungle Cruise. Like aesthetically, it was like kind of a cool. I didn't even know. I honestly, all these years, had no idea Animal Kingdom even had a railroad.
So, I remember because we did that on our day 2 of Animal Kingdom.
Right.
And you said, and I said, oh, that's right. I said, let's go to Rafiki's Planet Watch. I said, but in order to do that, we have to go on the Wildlife Express train. And you just like looked at me and you said, wait, there's a train here?
Yeah, I'm like, wait, what? There's a train? This is dope. And it was dope. I really love that. But yeah, I would agree with you. The Disneyland Railroad is like really a national treasure. It really is. It's incredible, absolutely incredible, with the Grand Canyon and the Dinorama, as George calls it. You can't beat it, and you get to see those things. You get to go through, like, you know, Splash Mountain, or what will be soon Tiana's Bayou Adventure. Mm-hmm. It's so scenic, and it's only gotten even more beautiful when they added Galaxy's Edge, because now you go through that beautiful rock work and the waterfalls. It's just, my God, it's just damn near perfection.
Which I do have to also add to the fact that Disneyland has the one up again because they still have the classic Toontown. Magic Kingdom's has Storybook Circus, which it used to be Mickey's Toontown Fair, but then before that it used to be Mickey's Starland. Which I would have I don't know why they just didn't just do Mickey's Toontown or just Toontown. But the Storybook Circus is cute. You know, you have like the Barnstormer starring the Great Goofini. It's a little kids coaster, sort of like a Gadgets Go coaster. You have the Casey Jr. like water play area. That's where we have Dumbo over in that area. And there's a lot of character meet and greets inside the circus tents and what have you. But nothing can compare to Toontown. I mean, Toontown, you have Mickey and Minnie's houses. You have Roger Rabbit's cartoon spin. You have Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, which even though we have Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, it's in where the great movie ride is, and everyone knows how. Don't get me started on that. That's a whole nother conversation. But Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway fits so well in Toontown with the El Capitan Theater. And then honestly, even to the fact of adding Galaxy's Edge to Disneyland, a lot of people said it couldn't be done. They thought Disney was off their rocker, but I actually think the rock work and the placement like adjacent off of Frontierland, I thought was absolute genius.
That was smart. Yeah, because when I heard of the rumors of a Star Wars land coming to possibly Disneyland, I was nervous because I thought the aesthetics was going to be more like Star Tours, like that kind of futuristic kind of thing. I'm like, that's weird because you're going to have that and then you're going to have Tomorrowland, you know? But they didn't go that route. They went with a very organic, like you're on another planet. So you go through the rivers of America and whatever, you kind of weave through all these trees and then you land up on Batu. It really worked. It really, really worked for me. I really like that. I know a lot of fans are really upset with that. Star Wars is a very unique brand. There's so much there with Star Wars. It's both science fantasy. It's almost like it's also in a lot of ways a Western. I mean, when you watch shows like Mandalorian, very much inspired by like the classic Westerns. There's so many different genres in that one IP. There's so much you can do with it. I think it can definitely handle its own land. Some franchise can't. I'm not 100% for any single IP land going in Disneyland or any park. But I think for Star Wars, it's a unique animal in that way. You know, it does have a lot of variety there. So yeah, we'll see, man. I actually really like the fact that it's at Disneyland. It surprised me with the execution of that. But it's typical. Imagineering tends to pour more love into Disneyland than anywhere else. Even DCA, they don't put that much love into DCA. I mean, we were talking the other day. They might try to shoehorn Avatar into DCA.
Yeah, it's like, we have Avatar. What should we do with it? Oh, yeah, just throw it in DCA,
And you'll see, hopefully they take as much love with if they're going to put Avatar in DCA, hopefully they put as much love into fitting it in there like they did with Star Wars Land.
And they're going to have to because James Cameron's on board and he's a stickler for that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to have to figure something out. I think the only way they do it is you don't do the land and you make an attraction and you put it in Hollywood Land.
Yeah.
Then it works. Then you can have, an Avatar attraction or whatever in Hollywood Land. Hollywood is sort of a catch-all theme. Universal does it. I mean, Universal's putting video game stuff in their Hollywood park. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I can deal with that. I can deal with an Avatar attraction in Hollywood Land. What I can't deal with is a full-blown, full-ass freaking Pandora in DCA. That doesn't make no sense, dude.
Sitting next to Mickey's, it's not even Mickey's Fun Wheel anymore. It's the Pixar
Pal Around, or sit next to Cars Land or something. It doesn't make any sense. At least Cars Land has ties to the state with Route 66 and that car culture. This has nothing to do with California. You can't even there's no mental gymnastics in the world that can get that to fit in that park. And it just doesn't work. It just doesn't work. So we'll see. But George, I want to thank you, brother, for coming on, talking Disneyland versus Magic Kingdom. And again, thank you, Kaylee, friend of the channel, for suggesting this topic. Really, really good topic. But George, before we go, if you could let everybody at home know where they could find you on social media, sir.
Absolutely. You could find me on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Disney George. You could also find me on Instagram under the Disney Italiano. And of course, you'll find me here on my home base at Orange Grove 55 with Citrus Corner, with all that sweet, juicy, but sometimes sticky Disney news and info.
There it is, a sticky icky George. Yes. So yeah, everybody comment down below with all your thoughts on everything Magic Kingdom versus Disneyland. What are your thoughts? Which park comes out on top? Is Disneyland better, Magic Kingdom better? Are they equal? What are your feelings on that? We would love to hear from you. We might do more of these comparison videos.
Yeah, I think so too. They're very interesting. And I just have one final thing to say on the matter. I think if Magic Kingdom, what saves Magic Kingdom in a sense is because it's attached to a resort complex.
Yes.
I think if Magic Kingdom was by itself, like how Disneyland Park is, it wouldn't survive.
Yeah, exactly. No, exactly.
In my opinion.
No, you're right. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right on that. So
it needs more.
Yeah, no, exactly. So we'll see. I gotta go back. I gotta go back to Magic Kingdom because that was the park I did the least, I think.
Yeah, I think like the next time we go, we have to actually do like a full day of like trying to
get everything in.
Yeah,
that was the park I was like kind of like, I did 2 days in Animal Kingdom, 2 days at Epcot, which I'm glad I did because I love those. But we even did a whole day, like a whole last day at Hollywood.
We did.
But we didn't do really a whole day at
No, we didn't. And honestly, I think to that too, because that day for some reason was extremely hot. It was an extremely hot day. And you were like recovering like with your injury and everything. And it was like we did like half day and we're like, you know what, we need the pool. Let's go back to the pool.
Oh, dude, the pool sounded so freaking good. When we were talking about that at the park, I was like, oh god, because I wasn't feeling great. You know what I'm saying? And you weren't feeling great. You were like sick watching.
That day I was like really like, because even like in the evening when we went back, it was like I was starting to feel like kind of sick. It was like because we stopped to see Happily Ever After and I got like really queasy and I thought like, oh dear god, like the show has to end because I'm about to blow chow chow everywhere. Which I didn't. But I mean, like, I hate that feeling. If there's one thing I cannot stand of throwing up is the feeling of throwing up. I hate it.
Oh, I hate the feeling. I hate the before feeling, the nausea. Yeah. It's throwing up and all that whole situation is like one of the worst symptoms your body can have, I think, So
I definitely say, folks, when you go down to Walt Disney World in Florida, because it can get extremely hot, definitely stay hydrated.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Absolutely. And and all those beers aren't going to help you. You're going to have to drink actual water.
Actual water. Yeah. Just don't pick a liquid.
Right. Exactly. Thank you all so much for watching this episode of OG55. Comment down below. We would love to hear from you. And until next time, have a wonderful, wonderful day. Bye-bye, everybody.
세상이 누구에게나 공평하게 추악해.